We'll formally begin. Okay, everyone, welcome to the AMATYC 2020 webinar series. Today we have a position statement on the academic preparation of faculty teaching mathematics in the first 2 years of college. Our presenter is Christine Marbaha. This one is sponsored by the Division Department Leadership ANET. Any views expressed by the presenter or commercial products are not endorsed or the views of AMATYC. Thank McGraw-Hill for sponsoring the 2020 AMATYC webinar series. And it says switch to presenter slides. Actually, Christine does not have any slides, but I will be presenting, I will be sharing the position statement. So, Christine, let me turn it over to you. And actually, before I turn it over to Christine, the way we're going to do this is right now everyone is in the chat window as a attendee. You're more than welcome to make comments in the chat window. But if you would like to speak up, you can go to your name in the participants, raise your hand, and we will give you we'll make your audio and video able for you to speak with us. Christine, I will turn it over to you.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for coming today, and I'm looking forward to all of your input. This has been a labor of love by our ANET for quite a while now. We've gone through several iterations, and so right now we are in draft 6. And today, with your input, we'll be doing draft 7. So I hope you've had a chance to go through and look at it. We sent out originally a version with all the markings on it, and then just recently we sent out a version that has no markup, and I'll be working from the version with no markup unless you tell me otherwise, but I do have both versions with me. I'm just looking forward to whatever you have to say to help get this, well, not perfect, but I guess as perfect as it's gonna be for now. So without further ado, please, any input that you would like to give, it would be great.
And this is how it started last week. Nobody wants to be the first one to break the ice, so. All right, James, I'm going to promote James to a panelist.
Okay.
Give me just a second. Okay, so James, you should be coming in on audio and then video if you want. There we are. Okay, James.
Hi, James.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess like I had a thought about the section where it spells out the 30 units. And that was just that like I noticed that only mathematics coursework counts there and not mathematics education. Mm-hmm. And I know at our school, we let mathematics education count for teaching developmental, but not for higher level courses. And I guess it was just like I was thinking maybe there should be some sort of pedagogy requirement, like even if it was just someone counting their intro to TA seminar or something as part of their master's, but at least that there be some kind of pedagogy requirement in there, particularly for developmental courses. And I kind of feel like all full-time faculty should be prepared to teach developmental, that it shouldn't just be left to like a few faculty. Because I know at our school, it's often the case that the same people pick up the developmental. And I think it's really because not everyone's been trained in that. So that's just kind of a thought about that, like maybe having some kind of requirement of pedagogy. I mean, keeping in mind that this is kind of a visionary document. It's not prescriptive to the schools. Like in our ideal world, everyone will have taken a lot of mathematics and at least some mathematics education. So it seems like maybe that might be a good thing to include. And then I also just especially, so I'm talking about the standard preparation here as well. Like, I guess 30 semester hours of mathematics seems a little bit high to me, given that most of the schools I've looked at use 18 as the number that they require. Like, I know that this is like an ideal document, but I also just don't know that that's necessarily going to be realistic, that everyone applying for full-time positions has that 30 semester hours. And so part of my thought about maybe allowing mathematics education to count for some of that would be that, you know, it might be, especially if you have people that taught K through 12 and then they come into they go back and get their master's to teach at the community college level, that they'd have a lot of education credits already. And so some of that could count towards this in some way. So that was just kind of my thoughts about that section. And I do have thoughts on the rest of the document, but maybe it'd be good to just yield the floor for now, and I can bring up some of the other thoughts later.
I'm fine with, does anybody want to chime in about what we were just talking about?
Let's see,
Well,
Chris Ward.
I'll go ahead and take a little jump with that 30 semester hours.
Okay.
Because my degree from Washington State University was a degree in mathematics with a teaching emphasis. So I sort of had a round mathematics base, you know, a little bit of analysis, a little bit of stats, a little bit of computation. But then, so that's only like about 2, 4, 6, 7 courses. So I'm only at about 18 to 21 credit hours. And then the rest are all teaching, how to methodology teach or research. So some of it gets to that part, and I sort of agreed. 30 semester hours, I think, could be reaching, yes, we're talking standard and what the minimum is, but for some degrees, I had aspirations to become a math ed PhD candidate. So you're going different paths in that, and they don't get really maybe 30 credit hours. So that takes care of maybe jumping with that. I'll see if anyone else has comments before I start on my other discussion.
If I can jump in, I would follow up upon that. We have a faculty member in my department. She possessed a PhD in mathematics education, feared that she was going to be let go due to qualifications, and went back and pursued a master's in mathematics, having already attained a PhD in math ed, and was a seasoned, experienced faculty member. So I think there needs to be some acknowledgement of math education, and it's in the document when it says coursework and pedagogy is desirable. But I don't think people are going to get coursework and pedagogy outside of a math education program, or a program that Chris just described that was basically, it sounded like, Chris, you were describing a program that basically was meant to raise mathematics teachers, but it wasn't a math ed degree that was being conferred. That's caused some confusion over the years within my department, making some faculty members nervous that, oh boy, I don't have this 30 hours. And then related to that, I wish there was a way, and I know it's been this way from previous drafts, to change the minimal preparation and standard preparation phrasing. It seems confusing to some folks. Minimal preparation, all full-time and part-time faculty should possess at least a master's degree with the 18 semester hours. But then standard preparation only addresses full-time, stating that you should begin your career with at least 30 semester hours. Locally, we've kind of interpreted that sort of as the minimal preparation as it pertains to full-time faculty, is almost sort of a grandfather clause, so to speak, in that you're not starting your career. You've been established in your career for years. As long as you've got this 18 hours, we're going to say that's okay. We're not going to bounce you saying you no longer meet the qualifications to hold your job. But I've known many faculty members that have had that fear. And perhaps the standard preparation should be possibly relabeled for new hires. We seek these to be the standards they hold upon day one, to already be at that 30 hours. I just know those are the things that in years gone by with the previous version of this document, people in my department have had a little confusion or concern over. I like that it addresses the importance of pedagogy, but I don't think you're going to obtain those outside of being in a math education curriculum.
So I think what I'm getting is the gist of this is that the mention of the pedagogy is very important. And maybe there could be, instead of saying master's degree in mathematics or related field with at least 30 semester hours of graduate level mathematics or statistics, maybe say, somehow word it so that there's an inclusion of mathematics pedagogy in there. Is that what we're saying? Okay. All righty. And do you have suggestions other than labeling standard preparation as new hires for those two labels by chance, Phil?
The word I don't know. I guess people feel maybe, oh, I'm substandard. I've got these I've got this minimal preparation that I've had for 25 years ago when I was hired, and now I've got 25 years of teaching experience to go along that. So I still feel minimally prepared, but now I've been made to feel substandard.
Okay.
Or that you're pointing out that, well, if you leave your job and go somewhere else, you probably won't get hired because you don't have the credentials that we would expect a newly hired person to possess.
Okay.
So I don't know that today was the first day I've looked at this version of it, so I didn't have a long enough time to dwell upon it and craft some alternate phrasing that I could recommend.
Okay. Okay, and let's see. Okay, and we've had a couple comments. Laura Watkins has said that just a thought, how do these qualifications relate to those from accrediting bodies? And then, and she's also said in her district, if someone meets the requirements from accrediting bodies, they can teach any course. And then Chris says, Chris S. says that in the creation of the document, was there any surveying research on the current credentialing practices across community colleges? For example, what % of community colleges are accepting math ed? Advanced degrees as sufficiently teaching math courses. At my college, a colleague has a degree in math ed and can teach anything other than the calc sequence and beyond. Okay, let's see. There's more coming. Hold on just a minute. Yeah, so, you know, Chris, there was some discussion about it, but I don't think we actually did any formal, you know, tallying of that. There was a lot of discussion about that though, because a lot of the community colleges do not accept math ed as being equivalent, because they point out that mathematics, math ed doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a lot of mathematics or at a higher level. That some degrees will even accept just like a intermediate algebra or college algebra and pre-calculus as math towards that. So there was a big discussion about that, but nothing was ever formalized. Do you have a suggestion for that, maybe? Oh, okay. All right. Chris says no, that he was just curious. And James has suggested that maybe something like 9 units out of the 30 can be from mathematics education. How do people feel about that?
My first question is, are we going to keep the 30?
Okay. Haven't figured that out yet, I guess. Laura says, I would suggest avoiding contradicting accrediting bodies, but 9 credits out of math ed seems reasonable to her. And Ann Dudley says, we use phrases minimal preparation and desired preparation when hiring. Would desired work? And how do people feel that that we'd have to have 30 semester hours of graduate level mathematics, statistics, pedagogy, whatever? Laura says she likes desired, minimal and desired.
So,
and so does Jeremy. Go ahead, Chris.
I'm thinking a way to put this, but preparation, I'm thinking how job postings are. Job postings are like minimum qualifications and preferred or desired qualifications. Do we want, because these are really, is there a difference between preparation and qualifications?
That's a good question. Would preparation, if we replaced it with qualifications, would that make a difference?
I still would like the desired, but I'm just wondering, in overall, are we really just talking qualifications?
And I think probably that is what the idea is. Yeah, I think so. And Laura agrees as well. So if we change preparation to qualifications, would everybody be okay with that? Okay, Jim likes preparations. Jim, can you sort of explain the difference to you? And minimal, take the minimal out and required. Put in.
Let me jump in here and just remind all the people that are participating in the chat, please, in the to line above where you type your message, make sure you have that set to all panelists and attendees. Some of your comments are just coming to the panelists, and the group at large is not seeing what you're saying.
And Jim has replied and said that it's because the title of the paper is preparations, and that would make sense. All right, so it's looking like qualifications is losing out to preparation. So we'll leave it as preparation for now, and then see if down the line people want to change. But it seems that the people who are responding most like preparation. Okay, and then the next question is from Jim Ham. He wants to know if we need 2 levels of preparation. Yeah, I agree, Chris. Chris says something about it, that it should make sense to use preparation because qualification would include more than coursework. And Laura says, given the title, the statement is preparation, we should use that language. Okay. So do we need 2 levels of preparation? How do you all feel about that?
Well, that may go into my other question.
Okay, we'll go for it, Chris.
Who controls dual credit instructors? For instance, dual credit, running start, whatever the states want to call it. I know they're called differently in different areas, but the responsibility of our dual credit instructors at the high school level is to teach basically the first 2 years of college mathematics before they proceed sometimes to a 4-year university. Do they fall under this preparation guideline? Are they hired or selected by, because I don't know who selects our dual credit. I don't know if that was done by the deans and they just have a running list and they've vetted their credentials, because I know we had to bring in their credentials for like HLC visits and stuff like that. So they're teaching our 2-year courses. Do they need to be outlined in this as part of the preparation work to make sure that we are selecting proper people for that? Or does this not cover them? I don't know.
It seems to be differences, different places. But it seems that people are saying adjunct, they're being treated the same as adjuncts. Or looking at qualifications other like adjuncts. And let's see, in Nebraska it says dual credit instructors need to have the same qualifications as community college math faculty. That's interesting. So some are different. It apparently is different in different places. So we had not discussed the dual credit instructors when we were doing this at all. I can tell you that. So it is interesting to see how different places are. Are you saying that we need to have something in here that discusses the dual dual credit instruction? The reason I'm asking is because it seems like it's very different all across the country, and maybe that would be a separate position statement even to discuss dual credit instruction.
Well, I just needed to find out, whether it's a different statement or if it needed to be, if they are sort of hired by the colleges, do we need to address it? Is my big concern first, is do we need to address it? Even if it might be a separate statement that they might be governed by their state, because each state's a little bit different, But I think if we're talking preparation of the first 2 years, we may need to just, cover that aspect.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and I think it probably would be, I think I have to think that it would be a different statement altogether. And having to deal with, we'd have to go through and research the dual credit as a separate piece, I think.
Right.
I don't know.
And then what I would think is, you don't have to put it in maybe now, but if we create it as a separate statement, then the next time that you may look at this, you may just put a blurb in here that dual credit is covered underneath this statement of AMATYC.
Yes, that would be perfect. Okay. But that is a very good point. It looks like we need to have a statement on that. So thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, see, Stuart, in West Virginia and some of ours, it's twofold. I have dual credit who are taught at the high schools, and then we're trying this new early college academy, so they come. So I got 2 different avenues of what's happening with dual credit, running start, early college. There's so many different names of them that I was concerned that if we don't address it somehow, even if it's a separate position.
I think maybe that would be a good suggestion for a new, a different position statement that, that could come out of AMATYC.
The only other thing I had real quick, at least immediately, and this is on your revised document,
Mhm.
on line 99.
Okay.
You talk about the preparation for students for both STEM, non-STEM, college level courses. You put co-requisite courses. I think you have a comma and it should be a semicolon. Like I said, this is on the revised one that you had sent me.
Oh, the one that I sent you that's marked up.
Yes.
Okay.
I think you just need to change the comma that's on line 99 to a semicolon.
I see what you're saying. It's under guidelines of formal preparation. And let's see. And let's see, non-STEM.
Line 89 on that document. I
Yeah,
think that comma should be a semicolon.
a semicolon. Okay, thank you.
And then I'll let other people, because I do have a question on your markup about one of your definitions, but I'll let others chime in about the stuff.
Okay, Ann Dudley is asked to speak.
Okay.
Ann,
Good morning, everyone. I just have one little, wait a second, I have to get back to my screen because I'm looking at it here. One little problem with professional development, the second paragraph underneath it. So if you scroll down to professional development, there's a word they that's, it's unclear who it refers to. In the second paragraph, you're talking about effective mathematics faculty are active professionals, and you talk about them, and then you talk about these organizations, and then the next sentence, so it's on yours, it's line 170, they sponsor conferences. I first read that as you can't be an effective math faculty unless you sponsor conferences. I think that you're talking about there is the organizations, right?
Yes.
The associations.
So change that.
let's change that to be more clear.
So
That takes
to the
care of one of my items.
Okay, the organizations instead of they. Okay, thank you.
Or these organizations, something.
Okay.
Yeah.
These I think would be better. Well, I want to say organizations. Can I just say organizations, not say these or the? Because this is not it says organizations such as, it's not a comprehensive list.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So could I say organizations sponsor conferences instead of these? Or the?
That should be
I'm just reading it and thinking.
because you're trying to make sure you're not excluding anyone that's not on our list.
Correct. And there have been other suggestions. James is sharing suggestions, like to add Todos and Benjamin Banneker Association. So most certainly I can put those in.
I think you could say organizations like these sponsor conferences, webinars, workshops, blah, blah, blah.
Organizations such as these or like these?
Such as these, either one.
Such as these.
Otherwise, it doesn't seem to flow.
Okay.
Just trying to.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
see, James, you mentioned earlier you had some other comments. I'm not seeing anyone else jump in. James, do you want to address anything else?
Oh, I think we already kind of addressed it here with, I just was suggesting adding this to organizations to the list. I also really like what we have about how advanced formal education may culminate in a doctorate. Like, I think that's a good observation, particularly because I know a lot of faculty applying for full-time positions do have doctorates, and so I think recognizing that there is great.
I think we've covered everything that has been brought up. Does anyone have other points within the document to mention, or is there something that we've missed? I know the chat comments were coming pretty quick there for a while. Not seeing anything unresolved from what we've discussed. Does anybody want to bring up a new comment about the document?
I have one on your markup.
Okay.
This goes, I don't know if it's on the original or not, but this is in the definitions, but I'm assuming it's not because it's completely in red.
Okay.
This talks about the phrase mathematics in the first 2 years of college refers to the mathematics content and courses offered as part of the first 2 years of post-secondary education. Okay, so that phrase right there.
Mm-hmm.
If they're at a 4-year, even though they're considered the first 2 years, 100, 200 level, is it guaranteed they're going to take it the first 2 years of their degree? Does this imply that they have to take it their first 2? I mean, I know schools are getting more and more. You know, when I got my master's, Washington State asked me to come back on as an adjunct because they were pushing, if they were in a program that wasn't STEM related, they wanted to get all of their math done their first freshman, so they were starting to sign them up.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm concerned, do they really, you know, because we know how non-STEM fields sometimes are. They wait till the last minute to do math and English. So now they're seniors, but this implies that they do it in their first 2 years. Is that a concern with anybody?
Okay, James says, I've definitely had 4-year students enroll in my community college courses and suddenly realize they need college algebra. Yeah, they're in their last semester of their 4-year. Maybe refer to, from Laura, maybe refer to the first 2 years of the program. Doesn't tie them to actually taking the courses in the first 2 years. Or how about normally taken in the first 2 years? From Anne.
Yes, so I wanted to mention that this is actually a way that AMATYC has been heading, is that we're going to the idea of mathematics in the first 2 years of college.
Right.
Because we're trying to get 4-year institutions, and we have a lot of 2-year institutions that become 4-year institutions, realize that we're still inclusive of them. So I think the terminology is, these are the courses that are normally taken in the first 2 years of college. We don't know for sure the student does that. I know with pathways that are being done throughout the nation, we're trying to encourage students to take them in the first 2 years. But I still have students who are like, this is my last semester, I need the math class. But so I think if you put in normally somewhere in there, I think it would be better.
How about after courses and before offered?
Yes. Yes, that'd be good right there.
And should that be, go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that actually sounds great.
I was gonna ask if that should go in the title.
I can't remember what the title is, sorry.
That's okay. The title is The Academic Preparation of Faculty Teaching Mathematics in the First 2 Years of College.
I'd like to leave it like that if we could.
Yeah.
I don't want to see the title changed. I mean, that is the intent, is that it is mathematics in the first 2 years of college. We can't help the students take it at other points.
Okay. Sorry about the ringing.
That's okay. Happens.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in my office. It's kind of a strange thing. Okay. So is that the only place where it needs to go?
Christine, this is Pat Riley.
Yeah.
Since that's going to be a definition that'll be used throughout the document, should that section be moved closer to the start of the document?
The definitions?
Yeah.
Possibility, yeah. It was, the only reason it's where it is now is because that's where it was originally. Statement of purchase, you mean before the guiding principles? Or after guiding principles and before guidelines for formal preparation?
I mean, since someone mentioned that maybe putting it in the title, if the decision is made to not change the title, then it seems like that kind of a definition should probably be as early as possible. So the wording after that is clear, what we're talking about as first 2 years.
Christine, I'm going to jump in. I think we have definitions in some other position statement, and I think they went at the very end. So let's do some research on where we put them in other position statements.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is there a format that you guys basically
Yeah.
follow for the important parts?
Yes and no.
We don't have
Yes
a,
and no.
we're working on that, but we don't actually have a set format. I am noticing in the chat that some people like the word usually instead of normally. So,
Or traditionally?
or traditionally, yeah. So pick whatever word you would prefer. Normally, traditionally, or usually, or typically. So.
All right.
Okay, who got out their thesaurus?
Yeah, some people got out their stores, but you know, this is your chance to get some input and decide what you want to do.
Yeah, that's cool. Jim wants to speak.
Well, then raise your hand, Jim.
He says it in the chat.
Okay. I got it. I got it.
Oh, hi there. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Because of the title, I'm really wondering about several sections in this position statement, this draft position statement, because it seems that several of them are focused on hiring and, you know, a variety of experience, for example. It's kind of more of a department issue where you're looking at hiring a diverse group to cover all the courses that you teach. The evaluating credentials and in staffing, that seemed to be more related to the hiring aspects. And then the related training also, even professional development seems to be something that goes on, you know, after someone's been in they've been prepared academically in their graduate work, and then they go teach and take that job, and then they do professional development. So I think the title, if you keep all those sections, has the position statement as is has a lot more in it than just recommendations about the academic preparation of faculty teaching math in the first 2 years. Hiring is one I think that comes throughout. So I guess I'd like the committee to think about the title, and do they want to add a component of hiring in there, or do they want it to focus just on what the title says and include all that other stuff in there? And I think also there were comments made earlier about those teaching dually enrolled courses at the, there should be a blurb in there. I think that blurb would fit in here. We have a blurb about adjunct faculty, and but I'm not sure the academic support personnel should be in here, as they are not ones that teach math in the first 2 years, unless you want to say something like tutoring is part of teaching math in the first 2 years. So it's kind of a broad, this thing is really, really long, and it contains a lot more in it than just academic preparation.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Jim. Okay. Just out of curiosity, Jim, do you have a suggestion for, do you think maybe either we break up the document, or do you have a suggestion for a change for the title?
I think that for this particular one, when we hire at the college level, we want to come up with, we do things like, what are the qualifications that are needed? What are the preferred, and, what are the mandatory qualifications? And one of the big things we look at is their college master's degree experience and their credits. And if this one could focus on just that, make it nice and short. If we wanted to say something about, hiring, we could create a new one. But I guess my own preference would be to weed out some of the sections that are unrelated to academic preparation of math faculty, and keep as the key components the number of credits or the type of degree, master's degree, related field, and the number of credits in math. And then maybe also say something about those that are teaching dually enrolled sections, those that are teaching, or the adjuncts, if you want to include that as well. And keep some of those other areas, maybe move them. I think several of them deal with hiring. Maybe that could be another position statement. And I don't know what to do about the academic support personnel.
Okay. So you're saying split it up then?
Yes.
Jackie Maresca asked to speak.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I don't think Jackie's in here yet.
Hi there. Can you, oops, forgot to open my camera.
Hi.
Can you hear and see me?
Oh, yeah.
Jim, was your question answered before I asked mine? Because it's separate.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I joined in about 20 minutes late due to an interview. I apologize if you already covered this, but I noticed on line 136 and 7, we talk about coursework and pedagogy. Line 172, also pedagogical topics, and the minimum standard preparation, or actually it's in the standard preparation, right, for teachers who teach in the first 2 years of college. And I noticed that the entire section of pedagogical content was taken out from the last draft. So I was just wondering what the rationale was from the point of view of impact and AMATYC for taking out that pedagogical focus. And this now sounds much more of a mathematical focus, and especially when we talk about what do those teachers need that are teaching those courses, what's unique to this population. And in my own research, we know that the pedagogy is a huge part. So I kind of just wondered what the rationale was for taking out that section. And if you talked about this, you can just be succinct.
No, no, we didn't talk about this. We took out that whole section partly because we didn't want to pigeonhole or to limit. And also, it looked like a prescriptive list, and we wanted not to have that anymore. We felt that just the wording that we had already adopted when we changed the wording encompassed things, but allowed for some flexibility.
Gotcha.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Do you think it should be in there? I mean,
all I'm saying is that my overall impression was that, wow, the AMATYC is saying if you are going to be an effective teacher of these classes, you do need the math, and you need this math, and you need this math. My impression was that it was very math focused, which of course we know our instructors have to have that depth of knowledge in mathematical content. But I just wondered if there was enough focus on pedagogy. Just throwing it out there, just a thought.
Yeah, actually, we did talk about that, and we're adding in some. We were talking about actually including under what is currently what we have standard preparation is the original title, but it's changed. Okay, where it says at least 30 semester hours or 45 quarter hours of graduate level mathematics. The suggestion was to include pedagogy in that as well. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I saw that. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's basically it. I think that's about when you came in too.
Okay.
Yeah. So hopefully that's in there sufficiently now.
All right. Very good. Thank you. That answers my question.
Okay.
And I don't know if this will go with sort of what Jim was getting at. I know this is supposed to be minimum and standard, but sometimes, you know, and maybe it's under related training, the way it's worded, I have to sort of, it's very short compared to the others. But if someone comes in with tested experience, are we, is that covered under related training, the tested experience part? If they were to come in to teach math, they've gone, you know, I did 20 years in the military, I've done computers and mathematics, all that training. You know, I may be working on a master's. Can I teach at a community level if I can prove tested experience?
That wasn't mentioned. You mean under related training, I'm assuming?
Right. Would tested experience be covered in that blurb? Do we even need it? Is that part of hiring? Like Jim, you know, Jim's getting to that point that this is a long document.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is there a split that we need to, you know, it's almost like what we do to our students, right? We know if we give them a 20-page document, are they going to read it all? You know, I joke with my registrar because, you know, with Phi Theta Kappa and some of these, I keep telling her, you need to start the email with TLDR and then put the rest of the email, because they're not going to read the emails. If they can see the too long do not read part first, you know they're trying to get it. But this is a long document. So
yes, it is. It's very long, and it took a long time to get through it, believe me. So I see that Anne is talking about the old guidelines for math departments where some of this could be moved, and I'll look into that. Also, Laura Watkins said something about if we're contradicting accrediting bodies, and I'll have to check on that. I can't answer that off the top of my head, so I will check. Yes, I know you're talking about the tested experience. I got that. Yes. Okay.
Christine, we got about 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you. So what else? Please, these are all great, great things. Okay, so Jim has something about and how to help students learn mathematics. So you're talking about that being a separate piece? Is that what you're talking about, Jim Ham?
Well, so there was that one sentence there at the end of that one section that said that, you know, they believe pedagogy is important, or it's desirable that courses in pedagogy are important. You know, I think we have to be stronger here, particularly because, you know, our most recent documents are impact. They're telling us, you know, here are some evidence-based practices that we should be using. And it would be great as an organization to say, you know what, we think students, or we think faculty, when they take that first job, they should have training in that. They should hit the ground running. They should be doing that the first time, not just kind of get the job and then do professional development to learn it. And I think we can be, you know, ambitious here in what we require, just like the ASA, when they say that, If you're going to teach statistics in the first 2 years of college, you should have a master's degree in statistics plus 18 credits in statistics. And you know, when I read their requirements, it's like, well, gee, I don't have that. And yet I'm teaching statistics 2 sections every semester. And okay, that would go into the, you know, kind of the experience after. But I think as a broad statement, you know, if we could say what every faculty member needs as they take their first job, to me it would involve, yeah, some significant mathematics, graduate level mathematics, but it would also include, you know, those methods courses, how to teach it, you know, the science of teaching and learning, inquiry-based learning, some of those things. So I don't know if we want to state in this position statement that those things are preferred, or if we want to come out and say, you know what, you should really have these things.
So instead of saying desirable, be a lot stronger than that is what you're suggesting. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any words that they want to suggest? Well, if you come up with something, it would be nice.
Well, I think we can borrow from our impact document. And I don't think we need to link it to courses, but we should say that, you know, in the graduate work, they should also have experiences in evidence-based practices, including, and then, you know, rely on our impact document to help us out with specifics.
Okay. Thank you. I'll look at the wording from impact. Okay, Chris has an interesting comment in the chat. Hopefully everybody can see it. So, Chris, are you suggesting that we include a bibliography of some sort?
So I think what we need to have is references so we know why things are being said and where they're coming from. We do see that in other position statements that we have references. And so those are useful because there also could be guiding places where people could find out more. So if you have any references, they would be good to have.
Okay, thank you, Kate.
Chris,
Yeah, I figured it'd be quick. Sorry, I figured it'd be quicker coming on. Yeah, just we're making these claims that we kind of share these beliefs, obviously. So it'd be nice to validate them, since, you know, that'll make, I think it'll be more of a professional development document too, for people to look at these references then and say, oh, that's what that means. I think that's just kind of helpful information in a position statement.
Okay. All right, great. Thanks, James. Appreciate your input, hon.
Christine, about 5
Yes.
minutes.
Okay. Others? Anything else that people want to put some stuff in or take out or change? Well, hearing nothing from anybody. Oh, Kate, you want to talk?
I just want to thank you very much for organizing this today and running a very good session. I hope we got some great insights from people. And the best we can do is make this a stronger statement. So I appreciate all the work that your committee has worked on with this, and I appreciate seeing what else you can do. So thank you.
Thank you too. I mean, the input that you all gave today is incredibly helpful. I got to tell you, a lot of things that we never even discussed, and believe me, this was 2 years in discussion. So this is all absolutely wonderful, and I will take it back to the ANET to see what we can do.
Thanks, Christine. This is a hard job, taking a position statement that has worked for so long, and then all of a sudden, okay, it's time to revise it. And so I'm not sure when the first writing of that position statement was, but since then we've had lots of other position statements. We've had lots of even, you know, our signature documents come out that kind of have expanded on several of the ideas. And so, you know, maybe now is a good time to shorten it, because some of those other things belong elsewhere, and we can just make this a very focused position statement. So thanks for your work on this, and thank you too, Pat.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. Yeah, maybe what we could do is we could come up with something that is more than one. You know, more than one position statement. Break it into two, or even a start of a third, and of course the dual enrollment thing is something that we're going to have to look at too. So thank you, I really appreciate it. And thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate that. The reference, I really appreciate that. That'll be very helpful. And if anybody thinks of anything, if you want to send me something, that's fine too. I'm open to anything at this point. So thank you very much. And thank you very much for coming. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, if we could maybe give Christine a big thank you, either verbally, those who are on audio, or in the chat for those who are not, for her work on this.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
And just to wrap up real quick, thank you for participating today. If you're not a member, we'd love to have you join AMATYC. We do have a presence on Facebook if you're not already there. Keep in mind, we do have some national conferences coming up in Spokane and Phoenix, along with webinars and traveling workshops for professional development assistants. We will get the recording of the webinar, the chat transcript, and the position statement file sent out as soon as we can. And then if you would, for those who would like a certificate of attendance, you can request one at the evaluation. The link and the QR code is on the screen. We'll leave that open for a day or two to allow people to fill out that evaluation. Otherwise, thank you for your attendance today. If you have any more comments or questions, please let myself or Christine know, and I'll make sure she gets it. And everyone have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Michael, send me an email and I'll send you that information. Okay. All right, Christine. You did
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, well. Hey, John Oakes, how you doing? John is still there.
All right. If I get any more questions, I will let you know. Let me go ahead and stop the recording.